Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry. A couple of weeks ago, I asked our Discord server to share their advice for new Dragalia Lost players. I'm only one person, and especially as this game grows, it can be pretty tough to keep tabs on everything. So in this video, I'll be presenting your tips, feedback, and advice for new players. I've organized your input by topic, and I'll also chime in with my 2 cents now and then. Around 25 people wrote in, so thank you very much for participating, and without further ado, let's get started. First up, let's discuss might and progression. Might came up in several of your comments. Day 1 player summarizes my own thoughts well. Don't become fixated on might. Knowing the mechanics of a fight is more important. Chris expands on this point by saying, might is a summary, nothing more. Strength is currently the most important stat in the game. HP is an exception on healers like Hildegard, and I tend to agree. Strength is generally more important than HP because most quests are timed and many incentivize speed clears. Chris goes on to add, might padding is for unlocking content. If you're playing multiplayer, you don't need to impress. Equip what's best for you and the rest, not what sends your might through the ceiling. And this is extremely true. Might has no mechanical bearing on your team's performance. Its only purpose is to gate content, either quests designed by the devs or rooms hosted by other players. So long as you can meet those gates, it's of no benefit to you to arbitrarily pad your team's might total. Neko Desu points out how some players use might conditions on rooms to set a might limit above their own. One thing I saw a lot was people who try to request higher might teammates for carries. It doesn't look good generally, like when a 3900 might person does a condition room for 4400 plus might. Perhaps this looks bad because an experienced player knows might is fairly arbitrary. If you are setting a might condition, my suggestion is to set it no higher than your own might total. Villa has another might-related tip leading us into the broader topic of progression. First, try to reach 10,000 might to farm the good missions. After that, in my opinion, the best tip is consistency. What do I mean by this? Don't try to rush as fast as you can to beat the high dragons. You will get there. By playing every day, spending your stamina / wings, you will reach that point. I completely agree with this. Some of the most important missions, such as Master Imperial Onslaughts, are unlocked at 10,000 might. These are among the missions you want to be doing every day. After that, milestones become more sporadic. There are prelude trials for high dragons and harder void battles to unlock, but those are designed for at most weekly or monthly completion instead of daily. Having said that, you need to first beat the story. Chapter 6 unlocks Imperial Onslaughts and Chapter 7 unlocks void battles. Chris once again sums it up well. Complete the story as quickly as you can. It unlocks essential content for progress in Dragalia Lost. Once you're at the point where you are able to do your Void Battle monthlies, only then would I advise looking into High Dragons. Equally, if not more important though, is preparing yourself for time-limited content like events, which reward having entire teams of each element. Chris explains the order of logical progression is somewhere along the lines of have a good unit of each element, have a good unit of each affliction of each element, have a healer of each element, have a team of each element, and then have a team for each affliction for each element. These goals are not set in stone, so feel free to switch between them as you like. This serves more as a general roadmap if you're lost on what to do next. All of this takes time, which incidentally brings us to our next topic. Patience is key to Dragalia Lost. Let's start off with another comment from Chris. Rushing the game as quickly as possible will result in burnout. Take the game at a pace that you feel comfortable with. Don't allow it to take over your real-life commitments. Right on, Chris, and thanks for reminding me about that last part, too. Brandon adds, remember that the game takes time to clear everything. You won't be F2P and beat the whole game in a month or two, so just try to have fun and enjoy playing with the characters you like. This too is true, and many experienced players echoed this sentiment. Scott writes, try not to stress out if you can't reach an event benchmark or complete endgame content. Focus on your dailies, raise your adventurers. You will get it eventually. Not everyone can DPS at top tier right away. Big Bad Blue extends the idea of patience to the topic of impulse. Have fun? Other than that, the best thing to do is take your time. Try not be impulsive when making decisions. My own view is that Dragalia Lost is a marathon, not a sprint. Progress snowballs. Several commenters got even more specific than this by discussing the importance of dailies. Anon says, remember to run your daily maps. As a vet, I'm realizing that I too need elemental stones now. I've promoted and upgraded so many units, but sometimes I still have to wait to complete mana circles because I don't have enough elemental orbs or dragon scales, which is easily preventable. When you don't know what to do with your stamina, keep doing elemental maps. I'm out of granite and I hate it. A lot of things are easily avoidable, especially with maps you can auto-battle. To add my own thoughts to this, I'd say Imperial Onslaught is a great sync for Gatherwings when you don't know what to do with those, since it costs 25 stamina to run solo, but only 2 Gatherwings to play co-op. Rupees are another resource which always seem to be in short supply, so Avenue to Fortune is an okay sync for stamina. For all grinding, note that player EXP, rupee, and mana boosting abilities can be used. These abilities work even if the teammate they're on never enters the battle. For instance, in co-op play, you just need those team members somewhere on your team. Sway Agni says, when you can, try to get a full team of gold Fafnir dragons to boost your gold intake in Avenue to Fortune. It can be done after Chapter 7 and after clearing the void shop of what you need. Amazeus writes, balance stamina and Gatherwing usage so that you don't level up and hit the max cap for either. 999 for stamina and 99 for wings. The most valuable resource in this game is time, and stamina/wings equals time. I often see people with overflowing resources, especially wings, so I really like this tip. The Cobra Slayer reminds us of another crucial daily task. Make sure to feed your dragons every day, even if it feels horribly expensive. I didn't for 3 months because I didn't know what the roost was for, and I lost out on some potential sunlight stones earlier. Yep, this is a really important piece of advice. Finally, Brandon gives us another suggestion on how to unwind between gameplay sessions. If you have some free time, read through character/dragon stories or Dragalia Life. The designs there are quite cute and entertaining to read. I'll add that reading the stories also grants you precious Wyrmite, and that pretty much covers it for your advice on taking your time and managing your dailies. Our next topic is combat and gameplay. By far, the most popular piece of advice was about Force Strikes. If you aren't aware, these are crucial to the overdrive and break mechanics in Dragalia Lost. As you damage a boss, its overdrive gauge fills up. Once full, the boss enters overdrive, and it becomes much more dangerous. Force Strikes diminish a boss's overdrive gauge faster than normal attacks, so use them proactively. When the gauge hits 0, the boss breaks. It's temporarily immobilized, and its defense is reduced. After this, the cycle repeats. Xenol's comment just mentions the topic, the importance of Force Strikes. Red Rock puts it simply too. Use Force Strikes when the boss is in overdrive to break them faster. Anon elaborates. The biggest issue with new players is not understanding how Force Strikes and the overdrive bar work. Also, I suggest explaining that different classes have different overdrive bar rates. That last part is an important note. Without getting into specifics, every weapon class has a different Force Strike animation and a different modifier for how much bonus damage they do to the overdrive gauge. This is why I often say that swords are good at diminishing the overdrive overdrive gauge with their Force Strikes. It's because the combination of damage, multiplier, and animation is excellent for that particular class. Other weapon types can have different benefits to their Force Strikes too though, like mobility on lances and blades, or range on wands, bows, and staves. Straight Lace chimes in, Blade Force Strikes are amazing for dodging while attacking, since they move you a large distance and can pierce through enemies. I'll add that Axe Force Strikes also have a unique property in that they draw in enemies while charging up. Besides their effects on the overdrive gauge, Force Strikes are also used to destroy enemy shields. Beauregard says to remove the shields of foot soldiers, you want to use Force Strikes. Otherwise, they tank through skills and a lot of auto attacks. This tip was especially important during defensive battles, but it's still relevant now against Imperial Onslaught. Another way that Force Strikes can be used though is just as a means of dealing even more damage or building your skill gauges when interweaved with normal attacks. This varies from weapon type to weapon type. As Beauregard goes on to say, first of all, have fun. Try to find a weapon class you enjoy the most and focus on that. Our next comment from Aurora covers the topic of combos and discusses combat at length. Dragalia Lost has a surprisingly deep combat system. I would recommend mastering weapon combos and dragon combos while you're farming. Makes it more fun. First, dragon combos. Every dragon can cancel their normal attacks by using their skill or dashing. Do this by swiping. This is the key to maximizing your damage output. A list of optimal combos can be found on Discord. Next, the weapon combos. This is probably the most complicated thing in the game to master, which is a good thing. It gives us things to practice while farming. I'll split it into different levels so it's less overwhelming. Level 1 for beginners and so on. Level 1, get used to using Force Strikes. Use Force Strikes for breaking the boss faster and use Force Strikes to stall/knock down mobs. Level 2, get used to using optimal DPS, damage per second, ODPS, overdrive damage per second, and SPPS, skill points per second. For example, Lance's best SPPS combo is 5 hits into a Force Strike. Their best DPS is 5 hits into a failed Force Strike. Failed means only activating Force Strike to cancel the normal attack ending lag, but not fully charging the Force Strike. And their best ODPS is roll into a Force Strike. Level 3, making the best combo for a specific unit. What I mean by this is SP cost counting. Usually you want to find the combo which fills your S1 first skill the fastest and determine whether or not a skill haste Wyrmprint will help with your S1 spamming. SP costs are different for each unit, so their best combos can be different. For example, Elisanne doing 2 5 hits into a Force Strike gives her just enough SP for her S1. Thank you for the excellent comment, Aurora. Many of the in-game systems are not explicitly detailed, and that includes things like optimal combos, SP costs, and the damage formula. I often use the wiki to look up info like this, so I'll be sure to link to some of my most frequently used pages in the description. Of course, another option for info like this is to join a Discord. Ours is always linked in the description below. As Acedia says, new players should not be afraid to join Discords and ask questions or for help from older players, especially since not a lot of the mechanics in Dragalia Lost are listed in the game tutorials. Examples include Force Strike spamming even with enemies with no shields to decrease the overdrive bar, stack and chaser mechanics, the actual requirements to enter the high dragons, especially the HP checks, etc. Iframes or invincibility frames are one such hidden mechanic which are crucial, yet the game never really teaches us about them. Beauregard writes, there are iframes on skills, try to master them. Basically, while using a skill, you become invulnerable to most red area of effect enemy attacks. Your AI teammates are also invulnerable for a short time, while the character portrait cuts across the screen. Purple area of effect moves, red moves with crosshairs, and certain moves which aren't forecast can still interrupt your skills though, so be careful. If you're having trouble seeing all of this in time to react, Beauregard adds, turn down the video quality to see when and where a boss is going to auto-attack. I will also mention that turning off both the 90 and 180 degree quick turn options on the settings lets me force strike more consistently personally. As Chris writes, give the options menu a look through. They have different customizations that allow you to change gameplay or visuals to your liking. There are a few more specific gameplay tips that I'll lump in with combat as well, since there are more things which might not be obvious at first. These pertain to both solo and co-op play, including raids. Chris goes on, if you're struggling on some solo content, just know you can switch between characters by tapping their portraits on the top left or bottom right. With this in mind, you can do all kinds of wild things like put a phoenix on your off-element healer and switch to them to get a boost when your team is in danger. This tip is very helpful for harder solo content like facility event challenge battles. With respect to raids, many people also wrote in about the value of shapeshift prep. Anand says, always use Dragon Prep during raid events. Your party will thank you for quick clears. At least put one on each character. This comment was made before our Resplendent Refrain revival, but as it turns out, Shapeshift Prep still ended up being pretty good against Sabnok on Nightmare mode. Chris echoes, always try to have approximately 3 or 4 Shapeshift Prep prints available for raids. The most common version of this is the 2-star print Dragon Arcanum. These are important assets for getting timed clears in raid type events. I'll add that prints like this are also helpful for timed clears of content like Void Battles. I definitely suggest you keep and unbind copies of Dragon Arcanum that you get. When it comes to co-op as a whole beyond just raids, communication is helpful. At a base level, Beauregard puts it well. Use stickers and join the Discord. It's got lots of helpful people. But if you plan to do matches in public lobbies, then Renji expands on this topic with some smart advice about how to use room conditions and your username to effectively signal your intentions to others. If you know that you meet the requirements like strength, HP, or weapon type for High Dragon Trials or another game mode and want to get some practice, set a room condition for either seek help, clear quest endeavors, or earn epithets. I would also suggest changing your name as well to tell the players joining some additional information. Scenario 1, if you want to clear a raid under a time limit, choose Earn Epithets as your room condition and change your name to Dragon Prep. Scenario 2, in the case of Void Battles, you can change your name to Dulrez Please on the boss battles that inflict dull. Scenario 3, for High Dragon Trials, set the room condition as Clear Quest Endeavors if you want to get a first clear, or Seek Help if you cleared already but you still need the practice. Some examples of names you can use are First Timer, New2HMS, short for High Midgardsormr, Practice, and New2 Verica. Although language barriers might sometimes be an issue, I think this is really clever advice to use the communication methods we do have to their fullest. And as for Renji's advice on Dulrez, that is worth elaborating on a bit as well. Check the details for Void Battles to craft appropriate weapons for them. Especially for harder fights like Void Zephyr and Void Agni, this is important to doing well in pubs. As Beauregard says once again, it is more important to farm the appropriate weapons for Void Battles than your power level. Co-op is a team effort, and it's good to put your best foot forward with the right gear. For another point on co-op play, here's Chris again. Sometimes you won't get to play the role you want, and that's okay. Don't force yourself upon a team that doesn't need what you offer. If they already have a healer, don't ready up your healer. It's okay to move on to a different team, no one will be offended. Day 1 player makes a related point. Don't be discouraged by random players leaving in co-op because you're a new player. For every player that leaves, there are more that will be willing to help. Tabu presents our final comment on the topic of co-op and community. Don't give up. Starting Dragalia for the first time can be extremely overwhelming, but it does become easier over time. Taking full advantage of Discord servers, YouTube, and other online guides can be very beneficial to learning how to play. The community for Dragalia Lost is extremely nice, and will always be willing to help out new players no matter how inexperienced they may be. Aw, thanks for the inspiration, Tapu. The fourth category of advice I want to address is resource management and summoning. Several of you left comments about using Wyrmites and other resources well. Joshua Tube Gaming says, spend your items and materials wisely. What helped me get a great start on the game was to resourcefully use everything I obtained. If you spend everything on one character, you might hit walls in the game often because it's either too hard or you simply can't advance. More specifically, several people commented on Eldwater and Wyrmprince. Chris reminds us about selling 3-star dragons and prints. You can sell 3-star and above dragons and prints for Eldwater. Go to your collection screen under the Teams tab, located at the bottom left when displaying teams. Click Dragons or Wyrmprince, and a button labeled Part Ways/Sell will appear at the bottom right. This button also exists for weapons, but those don't sell for Eldwater. Additionally, 2-star prints do not sell for Eldwater, so feel free to use them to level up other prints. One word of warning though, 3 stars are safe to sell, but I'd be patient when it comes to higher rarities until you have a better grasp of the game. Rishi comments, do not accidentally sell Wyrmprince and dragons. You could lose out on massive benefits in strength or abilities you could have received. Neko Desu elaborates on using Eldwater strategically. Definitely do not try to use Eldwater for many prints early on. You can get by with a very budget setup for the main storyline, and you shouldn't rush into buying prints. Yes, they're shiny and have great effects, but it's something to consider later on once you have accumulated a variety of units, have a clearer goal of what you want to improve, and gained experience on what you're lacking in. Rushing in Dragalia Lost might end up being only short-term gain, and Eldwater, though plentiful, is still technically hard to come by. Ditzbug talks about setting goals based on content, an idea which I really like. If your resources are limited, say you're F2P, use your resources toward a content goal strategically speaking. How good a build is highly depends on which content you're building them for. Also, don't pour your investment toward unconfirmed content, as Cygames is unpredictable in their approach to challenges. High Mercury's HP check was low, but the HP wall was high, for instance. Unbiting materials like Sunlight Stones, Golden Keys, and Damascus Ingots are also important to spend wisely. Chris goes on, save your Damascus Ingots and Steel Bricks for weapons that require insignias to make. The element-attuned versions of 5-star and 4-star weapons provide the most value for those unbind items. When it comes to summoning and purchasing decisions, Chris continues, don't spend Wyrmite on anything other than summoning and smithworms. Never go in expecting a specific 5-star. That's extremely dangerous thinking. Value packs offer the most bang for your buck if you decide to spend. Limited time packs occasionally show up at different times, at the time of writing, New Year's, and the Fire Emblem Heroes event. The most value of the recurring packs is the 7-day pack. Texan has a meta comment on the nature of gacha in general. Don't get caught up in a sunk cost fallacy. Thoughts like, I've already dumped 15,000 Wyrmite into this banner without any good pulls, might as well keep going, is a very dangerous mentality and can lead to really stupid financial decisions, especially in gachas. Finally, Vulpix's comment leads us into our next topic. They mention chasing 5 stars and rare units. Vulpix puts it this way, don't worry about trying to increase your 5-star pool by spending everything you get on the first banner that happens to be running. Chances are you will end up with more dupes of the featured adventurers and less variety. Try saving some resources for upcoming banners to get more variety. Bouncing off that idea, our final topic for today is the importance of lower rarity and favorite units. One of the big things I want to say right off the bat is that it's okay to experiment and try out many characters. Beauregard probably noticed a lot of homogeneity in public lobbies, so they say, although Alphonse is a solid beginner's choice, consider other characters. Some lower rarity adventurers are awesome, and almost all of them are viable for endgame content with enough investment. Brandon reminds us, don't be afraid to play a 3-star character if you like them, especially now that all characters' co-abilities can go to 5-star levels. For example, Melody is my favorite character, and I have her maxed out as a 5-star. Neko Desu echoes this. Don't underestimate the welfare or lower rarity gacha, 3 and 4 star units, because they can be equally as useful as the 5-star ones. There's no reason to be disappointed from not getting any 5-star units. Ditbug chimes in not just about adventurers, but gear. Keep your eye out on the 3 stars. There are some hidden gems, and most of them can stand toe-to-toe with the 5 stars. The key for fat powers from 3-star to 5-star are dragons. Invest in max unbound 5-star dragons, especially strength dragons, since they can pump your stats to a very high degree, about an extra 20% to your stat total. Second is a 5-star elemental core weapon. A 0 unbound 5-star elemental is nice, and max unbound 5-star elemental is about a boost in power of about 7% in comparison to your total stats. Those points about dragons and weapons are important since they are key to powering up your favorite units regardless of who those are. Chris tells us, promote who you love first and foremost. If you don't love any of your weaker characters, it's okay to save your Elswater for later. You don't need to spend it right away. There is no benefit to promotion before leveling, so use your assets as you so choose. One of the reasons anyone can work well in Dragalia is because the game is PvE, not PvP. Harpico muses at length, many gacha games have a tier list due to a PvP system. Having a tier list will make people wanting to summon a power creep character to win, but this isn't the case for Dragalia because it's a PvE game rather than a PvP game. The reason waifu/husbando is a better investment over a meta character is that you have a better time having a connection with that character, and also who doesn't want to play as their favorite unit? Every unit in the game except Elias Poor Kid is still good without regard to whether they are a 3-star unit or not. Cygames has refined the stats within every unit to the point that there isn't really a meta in the game, which leads to people wanting to invest in their waifu/husbando. Recently, they buffed the story/event characters to fit the stat pool of normal 4-star units. Therefore, don't stress out that you have made a 3-star unit into a 5-star unit with all the best items in the game, even if in turn a gacha 5-star unit with the same type enters in. We have people who are doing extremely well with off-meta picks, so don't trust the tier list. Hopefully comments like this encourage you to pursue and build the adventures you like the most. Finally, to round things up for this video, let's end with a comment from Rabbit. They say spend time on the adventures you want to invest in. This means playing your favorite character whether they top the meta or not. The most fun I've had so far in the game is playing as a unit that may not even be suggested for the content I'm playing. If topping the meta is your thing, and it's definitely mine sometimes, then enjoy. But if you like a character's story, personality, or playstyle better, don't let the fact that they might be less than optimal for something deter you from using them. Just practice and learn to play better. And Rabbit, I couldn't have put that better myself. And those are all of your comments, tips, and suggestions for new players. Thank you to everyone who wrote in, and for everyone who's still new to the game, I really hope this video helped you out. I had been working on getting this out for a while, so expect more to come on the new raid and the new banner throughout next week. Otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.